Are you someone that has $1,000 and you're looking for the crazy dream of earning a 100x on that portfolio? Well, today I'm going to try to actually address this. I've seen many other crypto YouTubers have this similar sort of title, trying to make $100,000 out of only a mere 1,000. But I'm actually going to try to address that today with coins I'm picking and the whole entire plan. Now, I get it. A lot of you watching these videos on crypto, and I've seen the transformation coming from the traditional, viewer from a bear market now into a whole new group of people in a bull market, shortening their attention span, clicking right through to the very end for the coins and how much to invest in each of those. But here's the thing. I really want you to actually watch this video today, like every single video of mine, of course, because to understand how this fundamentally works, you are going to need to understand why I'm doing the things I'm doing. You skip to the end, you're going to miss the juicy part ultimately. So guys, with that being said, of course, if you do find this video entertaining and importantly, you learn something new that you can go ahead and apply, I want you to drop down there right away, hit the like button, and also importantly, subscribing to the channel so you can achieve your crypto goals. Now, there is 5 stages of this video. The first is prep or preparation. The second is diversification. The third is obviously selection. Fourth, exit plan. And fifth is overall outlook. And we're going to do it in this order for the sole reason of allowing you to, one, understand why I've chosen the altcoins I have, but most importantly, to give you the actual steps to go on ahead and apply this to your own situation, okay? You're not going to always want to pick the same altcoins, and especially if you're watching this at any other point other than the first hour or two after upload, prices, of course, in crypto are going to change drastically. So you're going to want to obviously change and modulate this depending on what actually applies to you at whatever time. But first, just to remind everyone, at least on the day of recording this video, the market seems to be in a sort of symmetrical triangle, right? Honestly, this does look quite bullish for the price of not just obviously Bitcoin, because Bitcoin looks the same, but as this chart says, this is a global market cap, okay? So this is looking quite good. The green box here represents the Bitcoin halving coming up here in about 9 or so days. It could fall anywhere between these areas. But either way, this is vastly approaching. And I think we possibly have had the so-called halving sell-off people do like to reference. And even if we haven't, I don't think this sell-off is going to be quite substantial. I'm happy, of course, to be wrong. That's fine. I can buy more crypto. But ultimately, I think we are about to move up. And I think it's programmed into Bitcoin at this point for us to hit anywhere between $100,000 to up to $200,000. People are saying even more, $250,000, $500,000. Some psychopaths are even saying $1 million. I don't think so. But again, according to some of these analysts, Plan B being one of those guys, $500,000 is apparently possible. Either way, I think just knowing we're going to sit somewhere between these two levels will allow you to kind of mold your plan briefly around this. And we are going to see altcoins fly. Okay, altcoins are going to go up so much. I don't think people are ready for this, particularly if it's your first cycle or if you aren't someone who is really crypto in tuned, okay? Render, for example, going to the all-time high market cap of Cardano, which I actually do think it can. That's a 28x, a $250 token. What about Pith? To Chainlink, one of its competitors? Well, to Chainlink's all-time high, that'd be a 20x. And again, it's a new bull run, it's a new project, and it's new money. This is probably going to do even better. Non-financial advice, of course, none of this is. So take it with a grain of salt. And my personal favorite, HBAR, one of its sort of competitors, Solana, just going to Solana's market cap right now would be a 22x on a project like HBAR. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there that look at the fundamental basics of cryptocurrency and will look at that and go, well, Solana is quite high at 73 billion market cap. That's kind of out of the blue and random. HBAR being a 3 billion market cap, there's no way it could possibly hit that. I understand it's a little bit hard to believe. I was once in that category as well. I don't want you to judge me or think that I'm right or you're wrong and you should be silly. No, none of that stuff. I want you to just experience this bull run and get a glimpse of what I'm talking about here for the next cycle. I don't want you to have to learn that way, but sometimes, just like myself, seeing is believing, and you have to put yourself to the position of actually experiencing that to understand it fully. So you'll know what I mean if you've been in crypto for one or more cycles. So here's the prep work everyone has to do, okay? This is step number 1, and the amount of times I've spoken about this never ceases to amaze me. It's like almost twice a week at this point here. And I really do hope that I've helped someone, at least one person, because of applying this to your particular situation. Now, I know and I get it, right? It sounds so boring looking at, I've got this portfolio. Kyron wants me to go back and reanalyze my personal goals and my personal, expectation and risk out of the market, but that means I'm not buying altcoins. Guys, just please, if you are someone taking this even half seriously, this is what you must do. Warren Buffett, anyone would tell you, first of all, before you spend a single cent in investing in anything, work out your goals, work out your risk. It just makes the most amount of sense. So without spending 3 hours on this, because channel OGs will be rolling their eyes right now like, Kyron, we've heard this a billion times already. The first thing you have to do before you begin anything, before you begin buying altcoins, I know, I get it. It's very easy to get carried away and want to buy a nice, pretty rainbow altcoin. Please don't, okay? How many X's do you want? But the way we work out how many multiples you need is by figuring out what your goals are. Personally speaking, I've touched on this on a recent video. My goal is just to have, 8 properties paid 50% outright, or 4 properties paid completely off itself, buy a nice new Corvette, ideally, right? Have $250K cash and also $250K to reinvest back in the market. Now, my starting capital is $200,000 or so US. So you can work the math out there, right? I need about, what is that? About $4 or $5 million. I've got about 200,000. What does that actually equal? It's a 20x or so, okay? So I need a 20x, but I want you to materialize that yourself. Once you know what you're aiming for and how much money you need to obtain, you're not going to be always raising the bar, right? You're not going to be someone saying, I've achieved, what I thought I wanted to achieve here. Rather than getting out of the market and exiting, you decide to keep running up. Well, I'm going to set the bar at a 30x now. I've achieved a 30x. Well, now I want a 40x. And what happens is you get to a point where the market doesn't actually hit that level. It comes crashing down and comes up, and you think, okay, it's okay, I'm having a correction. And then it goes down, and then it goes down. And now it's too late to sell, or the market is illiquid, so you can't sell anyway. So it's very important you analyze this first of all. Next up is having a DCA plan. So what I like to do is forecast the next 6 months, figure out how much money you can afford to invest into crypto over that time period, weekly, monthly, whatever. Put that into a single dollar figure and give yourself the, challenge of saying, with all of this money, I'm going to try to at least achieve a 20x, which should be, or whatever your goal is, which should be quite possible in the sense that if you buy early enough, like right now, when we're like 3 or 4 or 6 or 12 months down the track, if you buy more down there with your DCA money, you shouldn't pull up your weighted average or your average buy-in that much. So you should be able to still achieve your goals while dollar cost averaging into the same project. So again, what you can do in this case is like I've shown you here. You can actually go from, say, for example, looking for an overall 30x to achieve your goals to then reconfiguring if you can invest money over time to then only looking for a 20x. And that change, even in every single multiple, is removing risk off the table. And when you're talking about risk in an asset class like crypto, this is obviously the main reason why people lose money in this industry is by taking on too much risk, more than they know, because it's not a very experienced industry, if that makes sense. There really isn't old guys we can go to like Buffett or Munger and say, hey guys, teach us how you did it, right? We are that group of people. We're the ones telling our grandkids how we're going to be doing it, okay? So please make sure you go ahead and reassess, what you can afford to invest, again, 6-month period here. And lastly, how risky can we actually be? So we've got our goal setting over a period of time, but what about how much we can afford to risk or lose in the market? And the best way I kind of tell people about this is imagine investing $10,000, which might be your cost basis or how much money you invest. Well, what happens, or what percentage of that, if I could take away at the end of the cycle and give you that chunk left over? Not what you might have at the end of the bull run. We're not talking about your extra multiples. If I said to you, well, Jimmy, you've invested $10,000, what happens if I gave you X amount at the end of in the next bear market? Would you be happy with that? So for example, if your risk tolerance is 25%, you're happy to lose $2,500 and only get back $7,500. So you lost money, okay? And that is the percentage I want you to think about, because in this case, these are the particular altcoins that we can go ahead down here and begin buying, okay? This is where it all stems from. If you put any percentage into, okay, I'm happy to lose this, these are the altcoins you can buy down here, okay? These are your extremely risky projects and somewhat risky projects, anywhere from a maximum of 1 billion market cap down to nothing, dirt cheap. So they range in these two areas. Red is obviously very risky. Yellow is somewhat risky. However, we want to differentiate these two to allow us to, of course, play things a bit more carefully or less carefully, depending. That'll make more sense momentarily. Of course, the green ones here are just higher market cap projects. Of course, these are the funds you can't lose. Nothing in crypto is ever guaranteed, so you should never really say anything is not guaranteed to lose me money. However, that is the sort of mindset we can put ourselves in, basically, okay? So wealth preservation and wealth creation, you want to have a nice mix of either of these two. Again, over here, you're not guaranteed anything, but the way I look at these high market cap projects, Solana, XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you're guaranteed much lower multiples. You want to mix that in with a bit of, the projects that are going to be higher risk, and then again, offsetting that extra risk as well with these two areas. And yellow is a bit of a mixture because you can have these more risky projects teetering on, low risk, still high reward. It's going to make sense with some of these picks here in a second. Ultimately, these picks are going to allow you to choose your altcoins in the right areas and will help you kind of put you in a good mindset, right? If you're someone out here saying, I don't want to lose a single penny, I want to make 100x, right? I want to literally 100x is $1,000 without any risk on the table. Well, you can very quickly after doing this exercise realize you're in dreamland and begin making those changes. What are the trade-offs here? How can you meet yourself in the middle? Additionally, this will tell you that, and you begin to realize, if you're looking for a 10x overall and you're buying some meme coin or you're buying some like really low market cap project, like a 10 million market cap, well, again, think about it. You're only wanting a 10x, so you're going to sell at a 10x. Even if the project 100x is on top of when you sell, you're still selling at a 10x. So it begins teaching you to go for those less risky projects that can easily hit a 10x still, but of course, put you in a position of not being as risky, I guess. Next is diversification, and you want to be diverse, okay? So you want to have a fair share of your altcoins, okay? But you definitely don't want to go over 15 altcoins, in my opinion, and you really shouldn't be going under 3. Reason being is because you don't want a very centralized portfolio, and you don't want to, of course, spend, have so much where you're spending a lot of time just trying to catch up and barely breathe. I've spoken to a lot of people. They have a portfolio full of altcoins that have a couple $100 in them, and their main positions have like 20, 30 grand in them. Just get rid of those crap coins, consolidate. Again, I only have 11 altcoins in my portfolio. 11 altcoins, okay? So you don't have to have an alt portfolio with 100,000 altcoins. If you see an influencer that has that, well, chances are they don't know about this themselves, okay? They probably have been gifted a whole bunch of tokens. So when I say diversification, I also mainly in this case mean diversification amongst what are called narratives. These are all your narratives right here. So, gaming, AI, DeepIn, ZKPs, memes, oracles, payments, play to earn, X to earn, privacy, proof of work. These are all things that pop off at different times. An altcoin, 95 or 99% of the time, will have its all-time high peak with the other narrative projects all at once. To give you a better idea of this, this is an indication of what I'm talking about. All these massive spikes in colors are different narratives having their all-time high. And you can see they don't all happen at once. There is no big one kumbaya moment. Matter of fact, Bitcoin as a narrative is on here as well. You can see Bitcoin's all-time high was back over here, and other narratives are popping off randomly. So just remember, please, altcoins, diverse them across many different areas and aspects of the industry. I personally have been telling people, again, non-financially, I'm looking at the most powerful narratives because this is where most of the money will freely flow. 10s and 9s, in my opinion, are where I'm looking here. This is where I think the most demand will come in the industry. So you want to find altcoins that, again, double up or triple up on these areas. And what do I mean by this? Well, very simply, if you were to pick any, 9 or 10 ranking altcoins, chances are you have to really try to screw yourself over to pick a bad altcoin. The ones unhighlighted here are the ones, just to represent, I guess, that these are the altcoins that might not pump in a situation where you buy a project in these narratives, okay? Most of them will do well. The further down this list you go, in my personal opinion, of course, the riskier it becomes. Finding altcoins that could potentially, miss the narrative pump and not really grow as much as you'd like. And in this case, the lower you go, the more you have to kind of rely on the projects being super unique, okay? The ones that really stand out amongst the rest, that's what you have to look for down here. Again, in those high-ranking narratives, you can just kind of buy ones that even sound half decent. As long as they have, hey, we're AI, we're DeepIn, we're gaming, chances are it should do pretty all right. So to put this into perspective, again, my portfolio is right here. Those 11 coins are broken up into at least 15 narratives. I kind of gave up and stopped counting after 15, but I know there is definitely more narratives in this list. And most of these narratives, again, AI, DeepIn, and so on, I hit multiple times, at least 2 or 3 times. Well, I should really say at least 2 times, okay? Which is important because you want to be, again, spread across and not be centralized. I have people, again, say to me, Kyron, you're saying to not have any more than 15 altcoins, but then you're telling me to buy as many projects in different narratives. Yes. For example, over here, one of the highest altcoins that has the most amount of narratives in the whole industry is Manta Network, Layer 1, Layer 2, ZKPs, Modularity. The list goes on with that coin. There's about 9 of them, okay? So yes, it is important to identify those in every single one of your altcoins. So what about selecting the altcoins themselves? Well, in my opinion, find your altcoins and desired multiples carefully. I've created this sheet you can see in front of you here. This is something new, and I will make this available in due time for everyone on the private community, of course. And this is a great exercise for you to begin figuring out, okay, you might buy an altcoin that is, let's say, Solana, for example. Now, we all know, okay, Solana is likely not going to do more than a 5x from here. Probably at this point, no more than a 3x. We could all be wrong, but I would safely assume no more than a 5x in the best case. And so when you look at this sort of sheet here, you might look at an altcoin like Solana, where it's over here at like 10% risk. It's a very not risky project. Okay, again, there's nothing in crypto that has 0 risk. There's nothing at all that has 0 risk. Even Bitcoin doesn't have 0 risk. But again, if you're looking for the high multiples with Solana, right? If you're looking for more than a 5x, you're like, oh, okay, I hope Solana 20x is here. Well, again, Solana's a 10% risk project. However, if you're looking for those high multiples with it instantly, you're now putting yourself in this category over here, a 40% risk, okay? So the way this chart kind of works is by saying to you, at the current point in the cycle, and yes, I will revisit this in the future because this will definitely get a lot worse in terms of more risky, the more multiples you want. However, at this current point, I think this does a great job of saying, okay, well, if you're someone who, for example, wants a 40x, whether that's 40x on HBAR, whether that's a 40x on any microcap project, you are, of course, sliding across here, going to this box in the corner, you are playing this at an 80% risk. Okay, so you are looking in that high risk area. Again, I think for those of you who are looking for that safe returns, you can right now find altcoins that will get you a so-called safe return in the 15x category, but again, you are taking on more risk. So again, the way you read this is by always searching across and then finding that box and then scrolling up. I do apologize for not being very coherent on the whiteboard here. I am on my laptop. Needless to say, this should help you all, right? When actually using this, again, you can screenshot this or you can join the private community for this. All you have to do is move across. But the reason I created this was, again, to help you when you're finding your altcoins. Again, in this case, right, as that $1,000 portfolio, let's pretend we have 50% risk, which means we can lose half of it. And at the end of the day, leave the bull run with $500 cash and still live. Okay, that's what we're looking for here. We're okay. We're not going to have to miss rent or go homeless. That's the main thing. So in this case, we can put 50% over here, but that also means if we begin looking for altcoins like Pith Network and Pith Network not being capable of 50x, for example, or trying to 50x, we are taking on more risk. Okay, that instantly puts us in the very, very bottom category where we have that high multiples. Again, any project, the higher you go for your desired output, the riskier it becomes. So yes, this again actually helped me to create this video. You'll see in a second the portfolio. I actually use this and found it extremely helpful. So please let me know if you want a deeper breakdown on that particular sheet. But again, that will be available in the private community. Either way, take a screenshot. You don't have to actually have access to it to leverage its power. So next, let's talk about this outlook. Okay, let's talk about how we actually make these multiples basically, right? Because it is, and I'm going to say this for the record, it is extremely difficult to 100x any amount of money. $1,000, $1, $10 billion. It is extremely difficult to do that. And why? Because 100xing is literally a gamble game. Any person telling you, I'm going to definitely 100x your money, but this coin, either has insider knowledge or is naive, okay? I won't go as far as say they're stupid because they might genuinely be one of those rare people that just have an absolute gold mine of luck with them, okay? However, I do want to say, again, this is crypto. Anything can happen. Anything could be a rug pull. So there isn't a single coin out there that will guarantee you any sort of multiple. So what I'm doing here is using time, logic, and compounding to actually get us even more than a 100x here. Now, again, this is one principle I've spoken about quite a lot. If you are someone, somewhat experienced in financing, the term compounding isn't a complicated term. This is what we're using here, what I call multi-cycle compounding. So going from $1,000 today, only looking, okay, this is going to shock some of you and probably piss off some of you guys who don't want to hear anything apart from coins that will actually 100x, but this is honestly what you have to do here, right? Looking for a 20x in this cycle, so turning $1,000 into $20,000, then let's just say taking a whole big bunch of that, let's say $7,500, $5,000 for tax at 25%, and $2,500 for, buying groceries or just, I don't know, maybe just doing whatever you want to do with that, right? So taking $7,500 off the table and then using that money to then in the next cycle look for a 30x. Okay, and you can. The reason why we're looking for more multiples in the next cycle and not this cycle is because if you actually follow me over here on the YouTube and follow our journey together, what you're going to find is a 30x is very easy, especially at bear market lows. Like, very easy. Matter of fact, you'd be almost at a 30x right now if you just invested when we were investing in the bear market, okay? So this is all very easy to do, let alone in the next cycle where we're likely to see more money flow in. Okay, so all needless to say is that you're 50xing overall, okay? 20x plus a 30x is 50x. However, as you can see here, we end up with $375,000. So actually, we 375x in a matter of, well, that says 2030, it'll probably be 2029. In a matter of 6 years, basically, 5-6 years, we have turned $1,000 into $375,000. Now, if you are someone with only $1,000 to invest, that isn't a lot of money relative to the entire world. I think most people out here can afford to spend a little more than $1,000. So all I'm saying here is that someone actually only been able to afford $1,000, turning that into $375,000 could be a godsend, an absolute godsend. And this is all I have to say. If you can't afford to wait time, if you can't afford the space of time here, this is a no-brainer. You're risking either everything on this cycle to make that 300 or 100x, or if you can have a little bit of patience and just plan this out for a 20x here, much safer, and the 30x in the next cycle, much safer. Guys, overall, you're laughing. You're absolutely laughing. And matter of fact, you're doing it at half the amount of actual multiples in terms of the change in value or price, or multiples, should I say, even then you're looking for a solely 100x. Now, last is the exit plan, okay? Now, this one is looking at a sheet I recently made as well, and I did make a video on it as well. And this one here just pretty much kind of visualizes to us what we bought each of these altcoins at and basically what we need to make our multiples, right? Where we have to sell and calculating everything that might be a little bit confusing to you all. You don't have to do much. I'm going to make this sheet available again for my private community. Not now, in about a week or so. I'll be away from holidays or back from holidays, so I'll be able to do that then, but this will be available in that period of time. So what we're going to do again is work out how many multiples we actually need, of course, based on how much we can invest, which is $1,000 US, how much we need to make this cycle, which is only $20,000, right? How many multiples we need is 20. Very simple, okay? Now, from here, we've already factored in tax, okay? So part of this 20 grand factors in that, roughly speaking, 25% tax rate. So we don't have to figure out any more tax or make more multiples because of that, which is great. It's very simple. From here, these are the altcoins I've picked. Matter of fact, I will be taking you through these altcoins as well, running you through this whole entire plan I just explained to you. But to cut you a long story short, these are the projects anyway, okay? So we'll circle back to some of this stuff here in a moment. But in terms of actually exiting, what we have to really figure out here is, again, making sure we have our multiple or our overall target achieved to achieve our multiples. So with these altcoins, again, like I said to you, I went back and forth on that risk category, calculator, that sheet, and I actually was able to figure out, okay, so we're looking to buy near protocol for a 10x, right? Near protocol 10x gives us this risk tolerance, and so it all works back to ultimately figure out again how much money we make at the end of the day. Now, again, this is something you definitely want to do. You are going to have to go in there and work out if you want to take your initial investment out, okay, and at what price. I, roughly speaking, start from about half of the price you're actually exiting from. So if you're exiting at $1, as your average, then you want to be roughly taking your initial investment out at 50 cents and so on. Okay, so again, we'll circle back to this momentarily here once we kind of look at the particular plan. So again, running through the whole entire sheet here, 50% is what I would look at doing for this $1,000 portfolio. So I would risk $500. And again, what we're doing here is effectively saying, well, we're willing to put half of our entire portfolio in these areas, and the rest can be spread across all of these risk areas, is what we're again saying. So the goal here is to own a house outright in 2030, and we're going to be using this current bull run as a stepping stone to achieve that goal. So here is that shit I told you I was kind of like working back and forth with. It took me a good maybe 10, 15 minutes to go back and forth, and that's part of the game, guys. There's no one fixed, this is what you have to do to achieve these goals. You got to go ahead and apply it to your own situation. If you're someone with $1,000 that can't afford to lose anything, you're dealing with all of this. Therefore, you really shouldn't be looking for more than a 15x. Matter of fact, the best case for you is a 15x, at least in terms of risk. And if you start doubling around with these quadrants over here, you start diminishing that, of course, overall, depending on how much money you put in those projects. So here, again, we work on how many multiples we want, move across to work out how much risk we're actually able to take. And that is what I've done here. Near Protocol, HBAR, Celestia, and Wormhole, and also Pith and Manta for this area here. So 20x, Flux into 25x, and Goldfinch and SNS or Senesis 1 in that 60% risk, 30x goal level. Matter of fact, I actually believe I have gone and put SNS in the 40x column. So this is the portfolio I actually go ahead and apply myself if I was in that position. So again, nothing in the guaranteed spot, because honestly, if you are looking for a 20x with $1,000, you're probably, I wouldn't say doing something wrong. That's probably the wrong words to use. I would just say you're not adhering to your actual goals if you're looking to put even any money at all in this area. Again, you're not working with much. $100 in each of these five, that's half of the portfolio, 50%, and spread across these. I would actually put more in Manta and Flux in that nice middle ground, and a little bit less in those very high risk projects. Again, you don't want to have too much down here if you can't afford to lose it. And the lower you go, right, the lower market cap you go, the riskier it does become. So in this case, if we follow this portfolio, we've got 9 altcoins, nice, perfect. I think most people can afford to look after 9 coins, and 15 narratives, at least that I've been able to track. Not only 15 narratives, but as you can see here, we hit some really big narratives twice over. Tokenization, massive, we hit twice. RWA, massive, hit twice. Data availability, Web3 layer 1, modularity, AI, the biggest narrative of all, we hit 3 times, Solana Eco twice, and Cosmos Eco once. So yeah, overall, this would be how I would go ahead and do things, with the exit plan, of course, as I mentioned over here, being this. So, of course, the amount we're buying at today's prices will give us this total dollar cost average amount, which is going to come to $1,000. That's our portfolio size. Now, we're looking here again to sell at prices to achieve our multiples. So I've been able to go in here and, if you change those, you'll move your multiples around, reverse that back here. If we put in, let's just say $700, that's a 259x. So this all works it out, okay? So this is a very comprehensive sheet, so that's why I kind of made it for everyone. And we can see here, we're actually overestimating our profit. So we're at $21,000, and what I would highly suggest is actually not trying to exceed your targets. Just get the $20,000 out of the market and call it a day, all right? Because every single dollar you exit higher becomes more risk. Every single cent you even do is extra risk. So if you can, reduce down your average sell. Like, let's say we're trying to achieve that goal, we might have to come down to $1.40 for HBAR, maybe even a bit lower, $1.25 maybe. You can see it's brought it down. You might want to come over here to near protocol and make this 75 for, or well, should I say 60, and begin tweaking like that, okay? Because again, this is taking extra risk off the table. But in this particular situation, we need to be over. Why? Well, because if we're taking our initial investment out, which is of course that $1,000, at that level I spoke about before, being roughly speaking 50% from the exit price, well, one, we should do that because that's very, very safe. That's what I'm doing with my own portfolio. You don't have to, of course. It just means whatever is on the table after those levels is all house money. It's all completely risk-free. So at that point in time, we're safeguarding our investment. But as you can see here, the total profit at the end of the day is a lot less, which means technically speaking, you do have to move up some of your actual exit levels, which can be a bit more risky, okay? So there's that trade-off there, but I would still prefer this method, particularly if you're buying altcoins that will easily achieve the target. So again, we wouldn't be looking to achieve that 5x. While it might be possible with Solana, we aren't going to try to get Solana to a 5x. We'd move down to a project like HBAR that might be a little bit more risky than Solana, but will easily hit a 5x rather than trying to time the exact top with Solana, even though it possibly could be done. So in this case, you really should be able to move up those exit levels if you've done this correctly with these altcoins. As you can see here, we have slightly less, give or take about $400 and, whatever that's $15 less than our target here, which I'm absolutely fine with taking. Fine with taking a little bit of a loss in this situation, because at the end of the day, if I move that up a little bit more from these levels, it is more risk, okay? So again, I could have done that, but I like to play things as risk-free as possible, or at least close to that. So everyone's different. And you can see in this case here, the current multiples we achieve is about a 21x, and the required multiples to achieve that 20 grand, because we took our initial investment out, now becomes a 21.2x. So we just missed out there, which again is just a few $100. I don't really mind all that much. Now, again, when it comes to actually taking this $19,500 and, reinvesting most of that into the next cycle, I mean, again, subscribe, because I've got plenty of tactics to help you know in the next bear market when it's going to be time to buy. Basically, when your altcoins are at prices where you're like, that is an absolute steal, but I'm too scared to buy it because the market might fall lower, depending where you are in the cycle, chances are it's a pretty damn good time to buy. So again, you're going to want to be subscribed down below to know when that is optimal. Either way, you can't go wrong. About 2027-ish, 2028 should be a pretty good time. And yes, taking that, $12,500 or so $1,000 and then moving that to a 30x, I mean, you've seen how it's possible even this late in the cycle for a 20x, so you can only imagine. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope, again, you've learned something new and importantly been able to apply it to your own situation, non-financially, of course. Talk to you all soon. Take care. Bye.